All right, everyone, welcome to the GGG podcast. I'm Paul, and this is Phil, and we're going to be talking about all the amazing news stories going on in gaming right now. So much going on, so many games coming out. I can't even believe how many games are coming out, and my wallet is panicking. How are you doing this week, Phil? And what have you been playing?
Well, this week has been like busy. Like I had a lot of personal stuff come up in life, and not like bad things.
Sure.
Went to a wedding in San Francisco. Been working a bunch. The thing that I've been wanting to do though is be at home playing video games because I've got to play Baldur's Gate, I've got to play Starfield, and I've got to play Armored Core 6.
Right.
And they are all so good. I keep swapping between them. But they're also involving that I keep swapping between them. I'm just like, all right, I'll play this for like 4 hours. And then I can't, then the next day I'll come back and like, all right, Starfield time for 4 hours. Like, you can really get lost in them. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm eating good, but I hope everything doesn't start to taste the same soon. What have you been playing?
I mean, obviously tons of Starfield. I think I hit like hour 40, which is shameful of me. But I've been playing tons of Starfield. I've been playing Deep Rock Galactic is one of my favorite cooperative games ever. And for those who aren't familiar, it's kind of like it's 4-person co-op, very similar to like Left 4 Dead, but you're tunneling through like a generated environment. I love all the classes, I love all the roles, and all of my friends have the game, and so we've been playing a lot of that. And then I think I played a little bit of Dave the Diver earlier this week, but just a little bit. I need to finish that game very badly, but obviously with Starfield coming out, my attention's completely pulled. So, yeah.
I will also say I've been playing. This is like it's something that kind of flows in and flows out of my life, but the Magic the Gathering Arena, which is like a card game online. Yeah. They released a new set the same week that Starfield Armored Core. And so it's like, oh crap, I gotta get all these new cards. So it was again like too much good stuff. But then I find myself going back to those classics like playing Deep Rock Galactic, or for me Magic the Gathering. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do a quick round of this.
Yeah.
We're just gonna do a quick Deep Rock mission, and
yeah,
such a good game. I want like sorry, this is already tangenting. I want a Lord of the Rings game where you're playing as dwarves, but it's basically Deep Rock.
I mean, there is Lord of the Rings: Return to Moria is coming out later this year. Have you heard of this game?
Is that basically it? And I heard about it. I was like, oh, that would be cool, and then I forgot.
You play as dwarves, but I would say it's more close to Valheim, where it's like a survival crafting game.
Oh, interesting.
As opposed to like a mission-based. It's like you're returning to Moria, supposedly after the time of Lord of the Rings, and you're reclaiming Moria, and so you're like rebuilding it. So I'm very excited for it, but I have to say, like, the early footage looks a little janky, which can be endearing sometimes, but we'll see.
I mean, after the Lord of the Rings IP just pumped out the banger Golem, I don't see how they could.
That's true.
I don't see how they could fuck up.
That's very true. That's very true. Oh my god. Oh my! There's been so many good games this year. I forgot that piece of garbage came out. So
I wonder if the devs are like, dope. People are gonna forget that we made Golem. But
I would change the name. I would change their name, or like, no, didn't they go under?
They went under, but
yes.
Yeah. So I'm hoping all of the devs are like well secured, have other jobs. I'm sure it wasn't their individual faults, just probably a time and money thing. But good for them that this like that new story is just like whoosh. We got 30 games. Don't worry about it.
Yep, we won't even remember it by next year. Absolutely. So let's go through some of the game releases this week. The Starfield kind of came out, but most people got early access, as I did myself. But then also NBA 2K24 just came out. It is getting the NBA 2K review that it gets every single year, which is, well, the gameplay is a little bit better and the graphics are really cool, and all the new game modes are great. But unfortunately, the microtransactions ruin the game. And Like for those who don't play, like the My Career mode in NBA 2K is the most popular mode that everybody plays, where you design your own character, you get to role play a little bit, and you know can play in the NBA. But you have to slowly progress and get better so that you're a better player. And NBA 2K controls that progression with saying like, hey, you can just buy your way to the top, because if you want to do it without spending any real money, it's probably going to take about 60 hours before you can make a single jump shot. And I'm being a little bit hyperbolic about that, a little bit, but it's not far off. So
it's an interesting thing that some games, and maybe some games will have you pay money to not play the game. You know what I mean? You
yep.
could play money to take a shortcut and play less of it to be better. I wonder if that is a benefit for them this time of year, where there is just 100 great games releasing, where people are like, all right, fine, I'll pay $60 so I could just get the experience I want out of this, and then $60 on top of the $60 I spent for the game.
It's 70, I think, on next gen.
It's 70.
Yeah, and then the Mamba edition, because it is the Kobe Bryant edition, is 100, and then I think the Legendary edition came off the market now. It's 150, but you got NBA League Pass with that, so there could be an argument there.
Luckily enough for everyone, I think come December it'll be on PlayStation Plus, like it is every year.
Yes, indeed. And then we got Dune Spice Wars is releasing.
Yeah.
So I was a huge fan of this old school Dune RTS called Emperor Battle for Dune. A very old game. I think when I got it, it came on like 4 CDs. So that's definitely showing my age and the game's age. And so when I first heard about Dune Spice Wars, I was so excited because I thought it was going to be kind of like a, not like a, no, what's the word? Like a sequel, but not a spiritual sequel.
Spiritual successor. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. I thought that's what it was going to be because it was more of like a top-down classic RTS, very Command and Conquer, very Age of Empires. But this game is not that, and that's fine. But I was very excited.
It seems more like a it's another, is it Star? Why can't I think of it? The World of Warcraft, or the Warcraft space version. What is it called?
StarCraft.
There we go. It seems like more akin to a StarCraft, where it's like real-time management of your bases and like being on Arrakis and stuff. But the reviews have been really positive, and it started in early access, which is, I think, always kind of a good thing for an indie game.
Sure.
To like kind of ramp up, see what people want, adapt their production. I'm not like the biggest RTS guy, but I need to give it a shot because it's on Game Pass, and why would you not play it?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know it was on Game Pass. Great.
Yeah, big win for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Game Pass in general.
It is. It's a great deal. All right, and then
can I drink this on screen?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Good. I want to make sure that
totally up to you. And then we got Super Bomberman R2. So fans of Super Bomberman, this is a more arcadey, kind of like a party game. You can play it solo, but for big fans of that style, it's coming out on Switch. I'm not a big Super Bomberman fan. Did you ever play Super Bomberman?
I think I played Super Bomberman like on the Sega Dreamcast way back in the day, because I was like, this has games. This has games.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there was a Bomberman reboot that I was very interested in. That was like in the late 2000s. That was very late 2000s. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I've never been a Bomberman guy. It's weird because it has such a devout following of people who play Bomberman, and you see like Bomberman plushies everywhere, and I just feel like it's this hole in my gamer knowledge that I'm like, you know what? That is much closer to the anime side than it is to the game side. So you guys keep it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you love it.
I'm same boat here. And then last on our game releases for this week is Baldur's Gate, but it's on PS5.
It's on PS5. Okay, let's talk about Baldur's Gate for a minute, because this game, it's in a year of a lot of the Game of the Year contenders. This thing came out, and like I thought Tears of the Kingdom was gonna be like it. I was like, okay, I don't think we're gonna. No, man, this one's pretty incredible. That said, I looked at my Steam. I have 221 hours in that game.
Wow.
That's in pre-release. So the game's
pre-release. So you're in Act 1, Act 2?
I'm at the tail end of Act 1. It's very long and it's very good. I keep like just finding myself playing other games and thinking about what I'm going to go back and do in Baldur's Gate. And I keep thinking about, okay, what's my next run going to be? When am I going to get to do multiplayer? For those of you who are fresh into what Baldur's Gate is, it's D&D, but a video game. Is the
a dating sim also.
And a dating sim. But if you play D&D with most of your friends, it will probably become a dating sim as well.
I mean, I could see that causing some drama, but
true.
Probably a lot less drama in the gaming verse than playing actual D.
Well, okay, so there was actually a bug, I think, in the first iteration of the game, but before like the first patch, where every one of your companions was super horny, and I think that they fixed it so that not as much sets them off to be into you immediately. So you're not breaking as many hearts, thank goodness. But there is some drama. If you romance the right people.
Too many love triangles. Love hexagons.
Love hexagons. Love
quadrahedrons.
Yeah, great game. It doesn't have crossplay between PS5 and PC, but that is coming. So the multiplayer aspect of it, I think, is one of the most special things about it, because you can like play as a character or make your own character in someone else's game, and it becomes really wacky and silly and fun.
Yeah, it's been taking the internet by storm. So right on. I'm sure it'll be one of the Game of the Year nominees. Is it your Game of the Year right now, you think, so far?
I think so far. I have to like reflect on what we had this year, and I think the only thing that's coming out that could knock it off for me, like on a less objective Game of the Year list, would be Spider-Man.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
But
we'll see.
We will see.
All right, so let's get into some of our news for this week. So first on the list, we got Megan Fox will be making an appearance in Mortal Kombat 1 coming out next week as Nitara. So I don't know how I feel about this. Like I think it's cool that they're doing cameos. I will say I know for Mortal Kombat 11, at least, yeah, I think it was Mortal Kombat 11, the last Mortal Kombat before this one, they had Ronda Rousey in the game, and she was Sonya Blade, and I really like Ronda Rousey, and she's a great fighter, but she's not an actor, and you could tell that she's not an actor, and so I really did not enjoy that cameo. So I will say that at least Megan Fox is an actor. I don't know how she's going to be in Mortal Kombat, and I also don't know if I care. But how do you feel about it, Phil?
Are you ready for a weird connection that I'm about to make?
Yeah.
Okay. This reminds me of Robin Williams, specifically in Aladdin.
Okay. You're gonna have to explain more than that, because I'm not with you so far.
What the heck are you saying? What nonsense are you babbling, Phil? Well, Robin Williams in Aladdin as the genie was cited as one of the things that would like spark basically the current trend of a million different celebrities. Whenever you see a trailer for like kids movie, any animation, it's just like Adam Sandler. Why can't I think of any other celebrities' names? Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi,
Jennifer Aniston,
Greg Kinnear, Jennifer Aniston.
Sure.
So yeah, it's got this thing happened in Hollywood where we're like, oh man, Aladdin made a lot of money. It must have been because like an actual celebrity and not a voice actor was in it, and it drew more people in. But really, the case was Robin Williams was just incredible in that role. I'm not sure that the same will happen with Megan Fox. Maybe she will give like a life-changing performance. But it is interesting to have like kind of a big name actor play a character in a video game. It's not the first time this happened. It happened with the guy who plays Jon Snow in one of the Call of Duties, also Kevin Spacey.
Yeah,
in one of the
Kid Harington. Yeah,
Kid Harington.
Yeah, Call of Duty pulled in some big guns. Like they had lots of big actors back when they were. Are they doing a single player anymore now? I think yes, that's true. Yeah,
but I don't think they're doing any big names.
Right.
But Mortal Kombat, like you said, I think one of the reasons that Ronda Rousey was so rough is that it's a weirdly story-driven game. Like the fights are great, but I really wanted to see what happened next between Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it felt a little weird. It's like all these wacky characters, they're voice acted really well. And then the normal woman in the game. Anyway. So
you just hear background chatter like, okay, Rhonda, you got to come back. You got to do a line. I'll punch him.
Yeah.
All right, that's as good as we're gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thought process there is that she's a fighter in real life, and they wanted to give that respect to her. But and maybe if it was like a movie and she was doing her own stunts, I think okay, maybe you're onto something there. But yeah, did not love it. So hopefully Megan Fox is a little bit better. They did have a interview and a character reveal with the character she is playing. Character looks cool. Kind of looks like a demon lady, which I guess sounds like a lot of Mortal Kombat characters. But we'll see. We'll see how that pans out.
Last little thing about, do you think it might have to do with the strike? Like, I feel like this is it's weird because it's the first promotion I've seen with a celebrity for a little while.
I mean, it could. I mean, I don't think so because this late in the game, I feel like she's probably
been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, she could have given that interview months and months and months and months ago, and then they just held on to it and then are now releasing it. And then also, if the project had been approved by SAG before the strike started, even if it hadn't been filmed or the work hadn't been done, as long as a contract got approved, the work can still happen, even if the strike is going.
Well, I know video game actors are currently excluded from it. They're
sure
talking with SAG right now to see if they want to join the strike. But
yeah, and hopefully they do. Because actors deserve to be paid and writers deserve. Yay. Okay, so let's move on into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. No DLC plans. So there had been some rumors floating around that there was going to be just one DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, and Nintendo officially confirmed that will not be happening, and that they are putting all assets to start developing the next Zelda game after Tears of the Kingdom. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, Nintendo fans not really upset. And like, I have a take on that, but I'm curious to hear yours first, Phil.
Yeah, I think people are. We waited so long for Tears of the Kingdom, right? And they put a lot of game in that game, as I like to say. There's just so much to do.
Right.
The last game, or what was it, Breath of the Wild, they added like a motorcycle. I feel like the DLC was a little bit lackluster. There was that really cool island where you could no, that was in the main game. I'm thinking of Ghost of Tsushima. there was an island where you could kind of restart. It was like a roguelite sort of type Soulsborne where you had to fight your way back up to your power. But yeah, they didn't add so much, so I think everybody is kind of on the same boat of we got enough here. Just focus it all on the next one and hopefully get it to us before 10 years.
Yeah. Maybe before Grand Theft Auto 6. Yeah, I have not played Tears of the Kingdom, full disclosure. But my partner is a huge Zelda fan, and I know lots of people who play Zelda, and the major criticism that I have heard from them is that everyone really enjoyed the game, but there was just a lot of map. And because of the, this isn't really a spoiler, but because of the multi-layeredness to the map, where there's a below place, and then there's the normal map, and then there's an above place, it was just so much that it kind of felt overwhelming. In that Breath of the Wild's map, obviously very similar map, if not the same map, was huge, but it didn't feel like you couldn't do everything on that map. Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, I've heard that complaint where they're just like, it's just too much. It's just too much map. there's too much, too many things to do. It kind of reminds me of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and like I really wanted to enjoy that game, but I could not get through it because it was just there was always another thing that I had to go collect, and it just wore me out. And I know there are certain people who feel like, well, that just means there's more game, and is that such a bad thing that there's more game? But I think I have that mentality, and a lot of other gamers have this like completionist mentality where it's like, well, I don't want to finish the story if I don't get everything that I want to get, or get as much as I possibly can, experience as much as I possibly can. Because as soon as I beat the story, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm done. Like that happened to me with Hogwarts Legacy. Like the end of that game snuck up on me. I did not realize I was doing the last mission, and then the last mission ended, and I was like, oh my god.
Well, I'm out.
Well, yeah, and I was like, I have like 6 more missions I could do, but yeah, I'm done. I'm emotionally done with this game.
I totally feel it. I feel with Valhalla was sort of the same deal. Tears of the Kingdom I want to come back to, but I did reach a point where I was like, I enjoyed these 60 hours I had with this game. I'm good to just kind of walk away, and maybe I'll come back to it. Valhalla, I got to like 24 hours, and I was like, that's it. I was a Viking. I was on a ship. Everything's great.
Yep.
So I'm very happy with this. A small side note, I heard that at Gamescom, there are reports saying that Nintendo showed off their first iteration of whatever the Switch 2 is, the sequel to the Switch. And they showed basically a beefed up version of Tears of the Kingdom running on that. So maybe they're putting all of their focus into making something for the next gen.
Sure, like a little remastered or something.
Which would be great for me. Like, I don't know if I'll pay for it again, but pump out a remaster to keep us hungry when that like 3 or 4 Zelda itch hits, and then by year 8 we'll be ready for Tears of the Ganon or whatever the next one will be.
Well, I think we're all ready for some new Nintendo hardware, because I think we've reached the limit of what the Switch can currently. Although I love Mario Party and Mario Kart and all that good stuff, but yeah, I think let's get a. Well, I'm curious to see what art style they go with the next Zelda, but we're probably a long ways off from
photorealism. That's my.
I mean, that's what all the adult Zelda fans want, and none of the like younger Zelda fans want.
Totally.
All right. So Destiny 2 has been in the news recently, which is not something I thought I'd say in a very long time. So Destiny 2 recently had a challenge in one of their raids, and called the Crota's End Challenge. And they released, or actually they didn't release this. I think the data was put together by the community. And the success rate for this challenge, and I need to read it off because I can't even believe it. The success rate of this challenge was 1.189. 1.189% of players were able to complete this challenge. Which
is that? So that is 1.9% of everyone who tried it, or just their player base in total?
Of the players who managed to complete the raid. So not even people who are playing. It's just did the raid.
Yikes.
Yeah. And so like for me, I used to be a big Destiny 2 fan-ish, or at least I played it a lot. I had many criticisms of the game, but I did enjoy the gameplay. It's got really solid gameplay. You can feel the Halo devs, doing their thing. But I think this is kind of starting to beg the question, and this is something that I always had a problem. Did you ever play the raids, Phil?
I did. I think I played the Court of Oryx raid a lot in the first Destiny. And I
Sure.
feel like that was like Destiny 1.5, the Oryx expansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I've run Callus like twice, but by the time I got there, I was like, yeah, gosh, I'm good.
Yeah, well, the raids, for people who haven't played the raids in Destiny, they don't really give you any instruction on what to do. And I think that that's fine, like as a choice, because you don't want to hold the player's hand or anything like that, especially when it comes to like the higher tier difficulty. And so I'm not saying that there needs to be some gamer hand holding, but at the point that all of the players who played your raid, 1.1% completed this challenge. Like, who are you making the content for at this point? And I do understand, like, you want to reward the players who are the most loyal and who are going to pour hours and hours and hours and hours in it. And so I'm not saying that those players like don't deserve that reward, but I think if the players that are playing a raid still in Destiny right now, those are your loyal players. Those are the players who deserve to, be compensated in, a new gun skin or whatever the rewards were for this challenge. And so, like, when you get to that degree of alienating and gatekeeping in your game, like, I don't know, like, you need to take a step back, in my opinion.
It's very. I don't know if you can hear this motorcycle. It went hard.
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. There is something about accessibility in gaming, right? And to devil's advocate,
sure,
Elden Ring was not that accessible. You could figure out ways around it, but it didn't like tell you what to do. It was challenging. That's built in. Destiny's an interesting case because it is like a mainstream flavor game, with these MMO sort of like currents underneath that if you get deep enough, it like pulls you under. So, I think I'm happy for anyone who's still playing Destiny. For those 1% of people that completed the challenge, good for them.
You are a god.
Yeah, it's, you've probably done like every weekly, every daily, and I'd want to give you an award from my soul. Just you have an achievement unlocked with Phil, but otherwise, I think this kind of goes into the last thing we're talking about. Games that can be so long are kind of great for like kids in high school and early college, where it's just you only have money basically for one game for a couple of months, and you're getting enough time out of it. Or Destiny, for example, it's like, all right, I bought it for $60 and I've probably spent like $200 because every year there's like an expansion, there's something. But if that is just your game, then it's worth it. And if it's the Destiny players who are still going until the final shape comes out and Nathan Fillion returns, which I'm very excited.
Don't know why he left in the first place.
Dude, I was at E3 when they announced his death. I was doing interviews with Bethesda, or not with Bungie, and I asked them if they had like, okay, you planned for this death. Did you set up the little memorial outside that people made for Cade 6 just outside of the entrance to E3? And they're like, no, that was just some fans, and we are delighted to see that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, rest in peace, Zavala. So
yeah,
absolutely. All right, let's jump to our next topic, which is Cyberpunk. This was actually announced today. The new Cyberpunk 2077 DLC, The Phantom Liberty. A lot of people are excited about it, especially now that Cyberpunk 2077 has been patched so much that it is a functional game. So that's good. But apparently for this DLC, the devs came out and said to be very wary when running the game on PC, and to make sure that your PC has a cooling system, and that it probably would require a cooling system to run the game. So on a GeForce RTX 2060, So that's the GeForce version, or the Radeon edition equivalent would be an RTX 570 XT. They would take up about 90% of your CPU on an 8-core processor, which is a lot of fancy, PC gaming talk. But essentially, like that's a lot, and that's going to run your PC really hot. And I do think that, with a killer rig, Cyberpunk 2077 can be one of the prettiest games out there. But if you're issuing orders that you're going to melt people's PCs, like, is it ready for launch?
I'm skeptical. I think that this is their crisis moment. Their can you run it?
Oh, okay. You think it's like a publicity thing?
I think to an extent, yeah. Because granted, when Cyberpunk came out, it was hotly anticipated. There was death threats over every delay because the poor folks over at CD Projekt Red were like, "Listen, it's not ready." And they delayed it like what a full year in like chunks.
Yeah.
So we kind of all got what we wished for, and then the game came out, bad press, and then Edge Runners came out and they patched the game that it was like functional and they kind of included some of that content, and it was a whole different game by that time. And from what I understand, this new not Sons of Liberty, Phantom Liberty,
yeah,
will be basically Cyberpunk 2.0, fixing a lot of the issues that I still even had with the fully released version. And the cool thing about it, to their credit, I do love CD Projekt Red, is that you don't have to buy the DLC to get all of those or to get most of those updates. Those will just kind of like be ported into the game. Yeah, I think this is them just trying to catch some attention.
That's a really good take. I did not consider that. And I do know, like, PC gamers, wanting to show off their metaphorical junk, being like, I could run Cyberpunk better than you.
I bankrupted my family to buy this 4090. Let's
go. Yeah, and like, shout out to CD Projekt Red. Like, I totally agree. They are great when it comes to DLC. Like, I could not believe the amount of free DLC that came out for The Witcher 3 back in the day. Just constantly, here's some more content we just finished. Just take it. And
here's the costumes. We were working on these.
Yep. And it's just like, they're ready now, so they're releasing today. And so I'm glad. I did not know that about some aspects of it. I know they have like a bunch of new weapons, so that's probably what you're talking about. So that's awesome.
I think there's new like melee kill animations, which is one of the things that I was really like. When you had the arm blades before, it was just you just pick someone up and like stab them and then they die. But apparently now they've new things where you can dismember people, or like just new finishers. Very excited.
Yeah, I love the I saw a big hammer in the trailer. I'd played Cyberpunk 2077, but I never used a hammer for whatever reason, or didn't even know if there was hammers in the game.
I don't know. I think it was just swords. I think they were like, you get katanas and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go ahead.
Oh. No, you.
I mean, katanas are great and they're really sexy, especially, put a little neon strip on them. Like, they're obviously a very classy weapon. So,
I was gonna say that from what I understood, they also added a cyber psychosis mechanic, which is something that's like alive in the lore, was in the original pen and paper RPG, and then was kind of the focus of Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Which, if you haven't watched it, I don't like anime and I loved it. So yeah, I'm really excited. I hope this goes well for them, but I am a little worried that, like, damn, you guys are walking into a minefield of releases.
It's true. Like, there's so many games coming out. Like, this is not on our agenda, but I'm really excited for Space Marine 2 to launch. I have a lot of friends who are really into Warhammer, and I love Space Marine 1 so much. And I didn't even think 2 would ever happen. And it's supposedly supposed to be coming out this fall. And I'm looking at the game release calendar. I'm like, if their marketing team allows them to release this fall, they're absolutely crazy.
Well, I could see that being like a great Thanksgiving into Christmas game, like late November, when everything is just kind of, every other developer has shot their wad, so to speak.
Sure.
And you're just like, hey, you want something fun to play for Christmas while your family's getting weird? Enjoy.
I mean, I would love that too. I'd love that too.
Yeah.
And not enough games actually come out in December. I feel like, yeah, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So, all right, and then this last bit of news, Phil, you want to take this?
Yeah. So the new iPhone got announced today. The iPhone 15. Hold on. This iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Plus, iPhone 15 Pro, and iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The new iPhone 15 Pro, though, is touting this new A17 chip, which allegedly, according to all their promotions, runs ray trace. It's got a dedicated like part of itself that runs ray tracing. My PlayStation 5 can barely run ray tracing. So there's a couple things about this. They're releasing Assassin's Creed Mirage. They showed gameplay of Death Stranding and Resident Evil 8 Village. And my question is, why you guys do that? Why?
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I think the most logical explanation that I could come up with is just they're out of things to put in an iPhone. Like, they're just like, the iPhone is a great device, but we've really kind of capped out on every freaking feature we can smack into this thing. And so, like, well, we can put gaming stuff in it. Like, if we can run Assassin's Creed on a really low resolution, then we can slap ray tracing in and it'll work, I guess. But like, for me, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I think, mobile gaming, like, I know the Backbone is very popular. That controller that you attach to your phone, you can get an Xbox version, you can get a PlayStation version, and you can stream your games remotely to them. Like the things like the Valve Index, and Nvidia has what is that the mobile one called? I don't know off
It's
the
like
top
the
of my head.
Blade or the Edge or something.
Yeah, there's a couple different companies that make them.
And of course, like the Steam Deck, like.
Or yeah, sorry, I said the Index. I meant the Steam Deck. Yeah, the Steam Deck, and then we have the PlayStation Portal coming out later this year as well, or at least I think it's later.
So many quizzical choices by the developers to like want to get back into the mobile gaming space, but like not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of people are just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I do kind of understand the PlayStation Portal. I don't think it's necessarily a product for me. What I do see it being a good product for is like kids. Dad wants to watch football on Sunday, and so you don't have access to the TV, so you can stream, go to your room and play PlayStation in your room or something like that. So I see it like in a couple of different niches, but for me, and maybe you can speak to this as well, like my problem with mobile gaming is that I don't usually want to play a very involved game in my hands. Like if I'm gonna play, even like on a Switch, like if I'm gonna play Zelda, like I'd rather put that in its station and play it on the TV instead of playing it in my hands. Doesn't mean I can't do that, but I just feel like when I'm playing on, like I've done remote play on my cell phone, and like I can play for a little bit, but like I remember I was playing Jedi Survivor, another great game that came out this year, and I was playing Jedi Survivor, and I didn't really actually want to do any of the story quests while I was playing on mobile. I just wanted, like, well, I'll just go collect things because that's not too involved. If I'm gonna experience the story and the big battles, I want to see them on my TV. And so I think for me, the key to mobile gaming is figuring out what level of involvement gamers want out of a mobile device. What do you think?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that's the Switch, right? I feel like it kind of marries that perfectly. What you said about playing Zelda and just like slamming it into the holster and like it's on your TV. And then if you did need to play like a little bit while you were watching something on TV, just pop it out and it's the same game, the same progression. I can't see that Apple would like sell you Assassin's Creed Mirage, or like let's say you buy it on your PS5. Could you show your iPhone that you have it and then be like, can I play this here? Or would you have to stream it? It's too many questions, and it's just a less simple version of other ways to do it. The devil's advocate in me here is that it might be cool for like doing phone VR, a more like high fidelity display.
Sure.
But that's about it. I'm like you. I don't really want to do most of my gaming. If I do anything, it's like card games, which is not as intensive as maybe we're just old, man. And
I mean, it could be like I was.
Yeah.
I don't. It might have been a year ago now, but I was like on the bus and I saw like I was taking a shuttle from the airport or something like that, and I saw this kid. You know, no backbone, no buttons, just all touch screen, and he was just going. He was like a master. And so I definitely think that there is a younger generation who is better at touchscreen controls that I am just not comfortable with. I mean, and there's a couple games that can pull it off. I think Diablo Immortal is a good mobile game. I think there's like a Doom mobile game that I actually really like, but I like it because it's more arcadey than it is serious, and those
it's built for the device.
Yes, and those are the games that I want to play on mobile. Is they're arcadey games. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see. I don't think this is gonna push any iPhones other than the rich kid at school showing up and being like, "I got Assassin's Creed on my phone." It's like, cool, Derek.
Everyone wedgies him, and we move on. Okay, other devil's advocate, like for a thing that would be amazing if they did this, if you could sync your phone up to your whatever the Vision Plus or whatever the thing is they're making, the AR headset.
Yes.
If you could like do that and it was like a very high fidelity version of the game, great. Again, this is like maybe they'll do this, but yeah, it's just sort of like a wild story. Is they're trying to make fetch happen, and I don't think fetch is gonna happen, at least not the way they want it to.
I'm curious to see what features they slap into an iPhone next year. I have really no idea.
I just want to take a good picture of the moon. Like, can we see these Samsungs and they zoom in, and you could see the craters and individual dimples and the bases we have up there.
Wow.
And my iPhone just takes a blurry photo of like a perfectly clear moon, and it looks like a flashlight. So,
right on. Well, speaking of bases on the moon, let's get into our main topic this week, which is talking about Starfield. I am super pumped to talk about it. The internet is ablaze with Starfield. Some people absolutely freaking hate it. Some people absolutely freaking love it. Most reviewers are saying it's a great game, but it's annoying. And I can appreciate that point of view. I don't agree with, I think IGN, which is the biggest site, like I think they gave it a 7 out of 10. I don't know that I would agree with that. I think that's a little low, but there are definitely problems with it. But what are your initial impressions with Starfield, Phil?
I enjoy it because I like Bethesda games, but I can wholeheartedly see why IGN would give it a 7 out of 10, just because it is such an old-minded game, while they're doing what they do probably the best that they've done it. It's the best version of Skyrim or Fallout that we've had. It does have these things that just hitch my get along, so to speak, where it's just like, I got some momentum, all right, I gotta go to this menu, and I gotta go to this menu, and then once I get there, they're gonna check my ship for contraband, then I gotta enter another menu to land.
Yeah.
I really wish that I felt like I was putting in stuff on my like keyboard and mouse or with my controller, and like watching my guy like enter coordinates and the ship goes somewhere and I'm with it the whole time instead of cutting to a loading screen. So I think it's really, really fun. I think the storytelling is great, and I think the role playing is the best it's been. Like, my character has not been doing the main story because I found some other interesting stuff that I thought was cooler, and I just want to be like kind of a space pirate who does good, and the game fully lets you do that.
Right.
So overall good, but
Yeah. So
what are your
you feel very similar to like how a lot of reviewers felt then.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Like it's very complicated. It's like I definitely, and so did a lot of the internet, went into the game with the mindset that okay, this is going to be a like a realistic looking version of No Man's Sky. And I can completely say that it is not. You do not. It's not No Man's Sky, and don't go into the game like trying to make it No Man's Sky because it's just not. Because No Man's Sky is like it was pretty crappy when it first launched, but now No Man's Sky is a very deep game. There's so many different things that you can do. It's a great game. I recommend it. They just released a new update for it as well that adds more story. But No Man's Sky is much more of a sandbox where you can really just do whatever you want. Whereas I would say Starfield is a bunch of quest lines that you can do. And so it's I kind of think of it as like a 1,000 page book. And it's like you can go to any chapter you want and start reading that part of the book. But it's not this sandbox that you can just do whatever you want. And so that is probably the best part about the game is the quest lines. And that's what has pulled me in the most because of seeing how, well they're written and how much like what you say matters. And like characters will call back to things that you thought were like, oh, I thought that was inconsequential. And now you're bringing it up in this conversation. So I really do like that aspect of it. One thing I will will agree heavily with the reviewers on is how horrible the user interface is. It is bad. And like, it's really bad. And I think that Bethesda needs to update it. It's not like I think they'll probably brush it off and be like, oh, well, if you want it to be different, then you can install this mod. I'm kind of like, nah, I think you need to fix the user interface because it is so confusing. And, we talked about earlier, we talked about accessibility, and a term that I use a lot is onboarding, where it's like getting the player on board and familiar with the systems that are going on. And again, like we were talking about with Destiny, it's like, I don't need a game to hold my hand the whole time. But you have to like put me in the right direction to be able to figure everything out. And this game doesn't do that. And there's several things in the user interface that like you were just talking about, oh, I have to go to this menu and go to this menu to like grav jump. And it's like, you technically don't need to, go to the menus to grav jump, but the game does not explain how to do that. The internet has explained to me how to do that. And like one of the things is like you can open up your scanner to grav jump, but you have to open up your scanner, and then I'm playing on PC, so mouse and keyboard, and then you have to press E to select where you're pointing to grav jump to that place. But there's no indicator at the bottom of like this button does this button does that. It gives me all the ship commands, but it doesn't tell me to select that galaxy so I can grav jump to it. And it's or the same thing with the inventory screen and flipping between all of that. And like, I think it's great that you can customize your characters. You can give them different outfits. You can give them different weapons and stuff like that. But it's just one long list of an inventory screen, as opposed to like I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, I'm a big Knights of the Old Republic fan, both of the games. And like, I was thinking like, God, the inventory system for that game was so much better than Starfield. And like, that game is like, what, like 20 years old? Like,
that's a game that you can very easily play on an iPhone 6.
Yes. There you go. But like in that game, it's like you went to your character and you had, oh, this is your chest piece and this is your weapon. And this is this, or you went to your companion, same thing. But with this, it's just one long laundry list. And so like that, now that I'm used to the user interface and I know how to do most things, There's still some things in crafting I'm a little confused about. But
I think there's a couple things, like all the crafting materials that you pick up that you're kind of not in, you're what's the right word, enticed to pick up, because like look at all these crafting benches, you can make stuff. A, that takes a while. B, it's all so heavy, and granted it's rock, you're picking up this, but I think a game that is making allowances to not be a simmy because you like have a revolver in space and you're like, it's, I think it should make us some allowances there. Just be like, yeah, listen, you have like this little box that stores elements. I don't know. It picks and chooses things tonally that are a little bit weird for me. But one of the interesting things about the game that I need to like, I guess, play more before I can fully talk about it from what I've heard is very interesting, is that it is kind of meant to be New Game Plus, and that is when the game sort of opens up. I'm currently playing Armored Core 6, like I was saying, and that is one of the things with that game is once you beat the game and start your second playthrough, apparently everything changes in a way that the devs are sort of like, yeah, this is how you're supposed to play the game. And then one last thing about like the signposting and the onboarding. I agree with the onboarding. It really doesn't teach you so much of what you're supposed to do. And I believe the signposting in the game, like, hey, look at this interesting thing. One of the best examples of it is the Uncharted games, when you see like, okay, you can climb on yellow things, you know?
Yes.
So when you see things that are diegetically yellow, you're like, oh, all right, I'm going to follow that, and that's going to lead me further into the game. Because they've made so much of this universe, it kind of just becomes like, all right, I land on this planet, and there's 4 interesting things. There's nothing like when you see the Grand Mountain in Skyrim, where all of the monks hang out, who can teach you how to do shouts.
Oh wow, you know? Been a long time. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the mountain.
You see that in the distance, you're like, wow, that's huge. I should check that out. The signposting was better. I think it's just because there is so much in the game, which, to its credit, it kind of diluted the specificity of it. You know?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I think that the game is not about exploration, and which is is disappointing, but I think that's what a lot of people wanted out of it, is like they want it to be a game about space exploration. And I really don't think that was the point, because when you played Skyrim, you played Fallout, a lot of it is just like, we'll just walk and go find something cool. And like you can still do that in Starfield, but I feel like, especially because of the leveling system, which I don't dislike, but it does put a bunch of walls in your way on what you can do. Like we brought up the crafting system. It's like you can't craft anything really until you get the crafting skills. And you can't get the crafting skills until you've put enough points into science that you get to that tier that it has crafting. And so there is some gatekeeping there. And I've played the game long enough that I'm getting past those gates, and it is getting a lot more rewarding the more I play it. But it is a game that asks a lot from the gamer, and it asks a lot of time. So
there is a very specific example of something that upset me. I had to like Google how you use a jetpack, because I was given a jetpack, and in my mind in the game, like I equipped it, I should use it, right? No, you have to go unlock a skill to be able to double jump, which is, I feel it's such a space thing. Like,
yeah,
that would be like you're playing Spider-Man and like, all right, cool, you're Spider-Man, but you don't have your suit, and you can't swing until you put enough points into your science, whatever. Yeah. You know?
I totally agree. There are definitely skills, especially like the first tier skills, that you're like, this should have been just regular gameplay. Like you just did this to make the skill tree longer. But like I thankfully, and this is not a credit to Bethesda, but it's a credit to the gaming community. Really, it's that because Starfield's been so all over, like on YouTube, on TikTok, even on Instagram, like I have been learning things through the media that people have been putting out. And so like I knew people were telling get the jetpack and the piloting as your starting skills because you need them immediately, and get the security as a starting skill. You need it immediately. And so like so I didn't have that frustration, but only because people told me about that, not because the game told me about that. So that's not really a credit to Bethesda at all.
One of the things that I was like with my first companion and I jumped off of something and I fell pretty far and she was like, "Is your jetpack not working?" And I was like, Don't make fun of me because I don't have the skill that you made a skill."
Yep.
Yeah, I think I think Starfield has a lot of problems, and I think is Bethesda problems more than anything else, where they're like, you mod it, you fix it, you figure it out.
Yeah.
One thing that I wish that was different, and this is like the skills thing. So I don't know. This is a very specific thing, but I think it speaks to the larger problem that I have with the game.
Sure.
Is that you get a skill and then you level it up by doing a certain thing a certain amount of times. And I really like that because I'm like, okay, I'm diegetically in the universe of the game, I'm getting better because I've practiced.
Right.
But then it makes you use a skill point, and your skill point could also unlock a completely different skill. I feel like it should be the type of thing like, oh, you've done this enough, and now you just level into the next level of this, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree.
They put a lot of weird walls.
Yeah, there are weird walls, and I do like. To me, Skyrim probably has my favorite leveling system ever, which is like you want to get better with two-handed swords, use two-handed swords. It's you want to get better with your bow, use your bow. You want to get better at sneaking, start sneaking a lot and
crouch everywhere.
Yeah, and in this game, in order to sneak at all, you have to unlock the first sneaking skill. And again, I'm far enough in the game, like I have sneaking skill level 2, and so I'm still not great at sneaking, but I can do it. But it asks a lot of time and investment to get there. Like I don't have a single, like I said, I probably have like 40 hours in the game now, and I don't have a single skill on the 3rd tier at all. And probably maybe like 1 or 2 on the 2nd tier. Just because I'm still trying to get the basics down before I can actually, okay, how do I actually want to spec my character now that I know how to do a little bit of everything?
I've heard a take that I find pretty interesting about the game, that it's specifically with signposting and onboarding, that they sort of made the game and they're like, listen, we know the internet's going to talk about it. Let's just let them have water cooler moments.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a cool thing, but I don't know. I like the fact that there is maybe your discovery is coming in the form of mechanics rather than like in-game things, like finding a cool place, which does happen, but you're discovering, oh, I can point my reader and hit E to warp to somewhere like that. I don't know. This game's gonna live a long time.
It is, and I'm curious to see what they do with the DLC and the modding community. Like I've seen some crazy great mods already. Here's a Starfield tip for everybody out there. I think it doesn't work if you're like in a dungeon, but if you are on a planet that your ship is landed on, which your ship should always be with you on the planet, you can actually, instead of like loading your companion up with inventory items, you can just send items to your ship. But they don't explain that. So you have to when you hit the menu, you go to your ship, like where your crew and stuff is, and you can actually go to your ship's inventory from that menu. And then you can just transfer stuff over. I think there, like I said, there's a limit. Like if you're in a dungeon, it won't let you do it. But if like you're in New Atlantis doing something else, you can just send it back to the ship. And
I've had so many encumbered runs.
I know.
It's like walk, Wait, oh man,
Yeah.
that's infuriating. I'm glad it's in the game, but
yeah, and so like there are features there that do make it easier under the surface, but because the user interface is terrible, it takes me telling you that to figure it out. And like I get it, yeah, water cooler moments. You know, you want those moments of like, how did you get through that? And so it becomes a good talking point, but it does also, like, I've also gotten incredibly frustrated playing the game. Like, if you are outmatched during a space battle, like, if you're just unprepared, like, you're just going to keep, there's no way you're going to win. Like, you're just going to die. And you're just going to keep dying and keep dying. You know.
Like, this is a Bethesda thing, and this, I think, comes down from Todd Howard. Because we have one element of Starfield that we want to talk about was him talking about the optimization and just being like,
yeah,
maybe you know, we optimize it, maybe your computer's just not up to snuff. And Todd, the games that we can run that are so well optimized and beautiful, I was playing a Remnant from the Ashes 2.
Yeah,
it's running on Unreal 5, and it is gorgeous, and it has fewer hitches and took up a third of the amount of space of Starfield.
Yeah,
they just made it well, Todd.
Yeah, I think it's their engine. I think the Bethesda engine is old, and I think when you're working on an old engine, it's gonna take up more space, and it's just not gonna run as well when you're just adding assets in. And like his, just to get in what to what you brought up, like, so Todd Howard during an interview, a reporter was asked why they did not optimize it for PCs, and Todd Howard insisted, "Oh, we did optimize it for PCs. Just some gamers need to upgrade their hardware," which was an outlandish claim. And just to give you some context, so on my computer, I'm running NVIDIA GTX 3060. I got double the amount of RAM that's recommended. I got a processor that's well above what's recommended for the processor. And, you know, I have a good computer. I bought it this year, and I cannot run the game in 4K without a significant frame rate drop, like to the point like where it's getting like, where I'm getting like 20 frames a second on a 3060. And it's like, I understand a 3060 is not the best graphics card out there, but it's pretty new. It's pretty good. I should not be having these problems. And you know what it does, something that a lot of games do, which is it does the dynamic resolution, and it's like, well, it's 50% of the actual resolution. Oh, okay, so it's not the actual resolution that I'm telling you to run. You're changing it. And
so the settings that I entered earlier, we're just gonna ignore those.
Just okay, meaningless. Cool. Great. And some other games do that too. So I'm not saying that it isn't like a somewhat common practice, but the fact that it's not running in a standard resolution for this generation, and it's still having these frame rate issues, the fact that they are like, we need to put a lot of motion blur in this game to cover up the frame rate issues, to cover up screen tearing, it's a problem. And so I do hope that they update it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not the best looking game in the world. It's cool.
Yeah,
the art design is interesting, but the graphics aren't anything that should be doing this. I was running around New Atlantis, which is like one of the main early hubs that you get to, and I was looking at the trees, and I was like, holy smokes, this looks like it belongs in Skyrim. And that's probably hyperbolic, but it does look like a last generation game a lot of the time. And I'm running a 3070, well above the specs. I'm trying to run everything on ultra at 1440, and I'm just like, pretty often kind of bummed out with things that aren't space, that look kind of just, you know.
I think the ships look good, and I think they famously said certain things look good in the right lighting, and it's like, they are right. When the lighting is like on point, things look great. But you know, lots of people look great in the right lighting. It shouldn't.
I have been catfished many times because of the right lighting, Todd.
So, and yet you have again. And so a notable thing that I wanted to bring up was like the facial animation and everything like that. It's not to say that they're terrible. I will say that they're not good, but I would say that they're kind of average. And for me, I remember when Mass Effect Andromeda came out, and everyone lost their minds about how bad the facial animation. And again, they were not good facial animations. I'm not going to defend the facial animations, but also, I think that game came out 6 years ago. And when you put those facial animations next to these facial animations,
I remember like even the original Mass Effect, the facial animations were of their time, definitely. But there was, and again, I think this speaks to there just being so much in the game. There was intention behind every line. There was like the actors were all pretty incredible. So as something in the human brain, when we hear the right like tonality and the right emotion, the facial animations aren't as bad as when
right.
Sometimes in this game when you're talking to someone and they're like really cool with you 1 second, and then the next second you did something they didn't like,
right?
Yeah. And they just jump so drastically. I don't know. I know we've been talking about this for a while, and I don't want to speak too much more negatively on it, or not even negatively, just like constructively. But would you like to, before we wrap up, talk about like some positive or like your positive experiences with the game?
Yeah. I mean, I love the game, but I love it and I accept a lot of its flaws. It has a lot of flaws, but I think that the quest lines are great. I think that the 4 factions that are in the game are really great. And like it's very satisfying. Like I got a amazing new ship, and having earned that ship without like having to buy it like was a tremendous feeling. And being able to kind of like, this is kind of a similar feeling like in Elden Ring of like when you finally beat that boss that's been kicking your butt for 4 days straight. And like you get to that point of like, oh my god, I just got a ship and I'm never gonna have to worry about storage space ever again. And like when you, and the relief that comes with that. But again, it does ask that you put that time into the game that you get to that point. But when you do put that time in, it can be very rewarding. And so I really like that. I really like the quest lines. There hasn't been a single quest line that I've been like, well, that was a bunch of garbage. And so I've just in the story, I've reached a point where like the first major decision you have to make happens. And I would encourage, I know you said you haven't been playing the story. I would encourage you to play this. You don't like mainline it, like where you just play it all at once. But I would encourage you to do like a good chunk of it, because something that really helped me is that if you do mainline the story for at least a little bit, every single mission you do is going to level you up. And so getting all of those initial skills, like the jetpack and like the security decryption and piloting and sneaking, it's like you can get all of those basic skills because leveling up through the main story is so easy. And I will also say it's got the best combat of any Bethesda shooter. I mean, really just talking about Fallout games there.
Yeah.
I do love the VAT system, but aside from the VAT system, I'm not really crazy about the Fallout first-person gun game. Never thought it was good. This game, it doesn't do anything incredible, but it does everything successfully. And like, yeah. I feel like it feels like a good shooter. And people complain, oh, it's a little bullet spongy. I'm like, no, it's not. If you think this is bullet spongy, you haven't played Destiny or Borderlands or
the Division 2
or yeah.
the Division 1.
I mean, yeah, either of them. Like,
yeah.
So
I will agree. Like the combat is the best it's been. It feels close to Destiny. Like, you know, that just good moment to moment when you get a gun that you really like and vibe with, and you just like blast people. Oh, excellent.
Really good. And like I would say, without any spoilers, like if you do the story a bit, it changes the combat, and so it adds another element to combat that makes it a little bit more interesting. So I would encourage players to do that. But yeah, I really like the game. I just hate the onboarding. But if you can, it's like the
power through.
Yeah, power through. Like it's like the meme I've been seeing, the Men in Black meme I've been seeing all over TikTok recently. Is it worth it? Yep.
If you're strong enough.
If you're strong enough.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly how it is. So yeah. What do you go?
Yeah. Go. I think aesthetically, I am in love with the game. Like I guess like I was just complaining about the like New Atlantis. I don't love the way it looks, but I love the design.
Sure.
I love the way that the ships are designed. Like it's got this lo-fi sort of how a NASA program or how like
NASA
a NASA
punk
employee. Yeah, NASA punk. So I really, really dig that. Again, the gunplay is pretty incredible. I like the role playing quite a bit. That there are so many factions, and there's a quest that I got that kind of changed like a little bit of what my purpose was, and this has been out there a little bit, but just for shorthand, semi-spoiler. It's like a Batman related quest.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and there's just like a lot of really great little hidden things in there that Bethesda loves to do. So I think if you like Bethesda games, like this is more of it, and that's great. And kind of them operating at the best of their mentality of a Bethesda RPG. Just the costumes, man, they're so cool. The fact that you can make like a space cowboy or like a neon space punk or anything in between. The spacesuits are all sick. The ship building mechanics, I've seen some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Where someone basically built like what is the thing from the Avengers, that cube?
The cube.
The cosmic cube, they called it the
Oh my god.
Cube within a cube.
Avengers 1. The Tesseract.
Someone built like a Tesseract because they found out that enemy ships shoot at the middle.
Oh, so yes.
The pilot is in the front right corner, so the shots just go straight through the middle of the ship. And people are filling their cockpit with potatoes.
Yeah, the physics are awesome. That's really cool. I've seen so many like Star Wars ship people making Star Destroyers, X-Wings. I saw like the ship from Halo. One of the characters.
A Pelican?
Yeah, Pelican. Yeah. That looked really cool. I saw Planet Express from Futurama.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's the ship crafting is awesome. I think a lot of those people who are doing that are using cheats so that they can just use any part. But whatever. Who cares if it's you being creative? Go for it. So I just I haven't got into it because I don't have the cash to be like I'm gonna fine tune every little tiny piece. So
that's it. I think it also has that really good hook of getting like you're getting stronger, you're getting more money, and you're becoming like a presence that is able to buy a better ship. Like you were talking about earning stuff and getting ownership. The game does that pretty dang well. And it doesn't take too long in that respect. So I think in some ways the game doesn't respect your time, but in other ways, like what you do is rewarded.
Yeah. At
a pretty good rate. So I would encourage anyone to play it, especially if they like Bethesda RPGs or just like RPGs. I think we're almost at about the end of the RPG season in terms of big Western RPGs. I think, well, except for Cyberpunk. So,
provided your PC can handle it,
yeah,
bro.
Provided not some scrub. But also, one thing I also want to mention about this: it's on Game Pass, and if you buy it on your Xbox digitally, you can play it on your computer, vice versa. I love that Microsoft is doing this. For whatever their faults were with Redfall, and there's console warrior shit going on about this stuff going on at this game. But it's cool to see that Microsoft is being very consumer friendly in this aspect of it.
Sure. Absolutely. Game Pass is a great deal. Like, is it at $15 a month now?
I think it's at $15 if you're playing on console, but for PC, still $10 a month. Can't beat it.
Pretty darn good. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you for joining us for the GGG podcast. We will be back later, probably next week, with more gaming news. I'm super pumped about Mortal Kombat, so be ready to hear me rant about that. So super excited.
Very excited. Let me just to cap off Starfield.
Yeah.
Here's the best review and the worst review on Metacritic.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
This is from Brad Pig. It's a very generic Bethesda game, and there is nothing new to its gameplay. Space travel is tedious, as well as all the menus. A lot of boring dialogue, old graphics. Is this the next gen? Optimization on PC? Jesus, awful. Xbox fans, why do you settle for mediocre games? 30 FPS? Oh, brother. So, I think the criticisms that we said maybe more gently than Mr. Brad over here. And then this is from Joshy Judas 32. This is a 10. He says, when I started playing Starfield, for the first time, I actually felt the same way that I felt about Skyrim when I first played it on the PS3. Same feeling of playing Fallout 3 on my PS3. It's really amazing. The planet as the city New Atlantis is like Earth 2.0. Amazing gameplay. Exploration gives me my own Han Solo style Star Wars type story. So, listen, I know we're not professional reviewers, but I feel like we kind of nailed both aspects of that in our conversation. So,
the world lives in gray.
Yeah, that's right.
So, all right, that's awesome. All right, thanks for joining me, Phil. We'll be back later.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye.